Just roll with it. You just gotta go with it. Just go with it. Whole life is gonna spin out of control.
Hi, my name is Zoe
Just
Harrington.
go
I'm with
it.
Panther Productions here at the OMTC in Mountain Grove, Missouri. And I'm here with Amanda Bevan, who owns Top Priority, which is a cleaning company that has many business expansions here in Mountain Grove and other towns near us. So, Amanda, how did you begin this business? Like, what made you have the idea of starting a cleaning business, and how did you get the products for your business?
So it didn't start off as exactly a cleaning business. When COVID hit in 2020, I was I worked a couple of jobs. I was laid off of all of those jobs. I was going through some life changes, a divorce, and was supporting kids on my own. So when I was laid off of those jobs, it was kind of pretty hard. I had come across some information and some videos on something that was called disinfectant fogging. I did some research on it. You have to buy a fogging machine. You have to buy the solution that you put in the fogging machine. As you know, of course, start an LLC, all those logistics. After I did some of the research, I realized I didn't really have any money because I was laid off my jobs. So I kind of tucked it under my pillow and went to sleep. The next day, there was a stimulus check in the mail. And I thought, well, I should maybe pay the rent and buy some groceries with it. But I had a good feeling about this disinfectant fogging business. So I took that check and I spent every cent of it on buying the equipment and starting the business. So essentially, what I offered was to go into businesses and offer a service called disinfectant fogging. You strap a machine on and it's got a hose on the end, and you just go around and fog with a disinfectant solution. It kind of, the selling point was it was better than just contact spraying. The selling point was anything that anything that air could touch, fog could touch. So I just preached my slogan and hoped people would call. There wasn't a lot of phone calls in the beginning, but within about a month, the phone started ringing and it didn't stop for probably a good 2 years. When the disinfecting fogging kind of simmered down because COVID kind of simmered down, I transitioned into commercial cleaning then.
Yeah, that was a very bold move on your part to use your stimulus check, which turned out into a great company that you have for yourself. And I think that's very brave for you to do that. And would you make that decision again to use your check for that?
Oh, absolutely. Knowing what I know now, I would have put everything I have into starting a business a long time ago. Um, I'm very proud of myself, but sometimes I'm a little disappointed that I waited till, my 40s to do this. But that just goes to show you at any time in your life, you could be 19 years old, you could be 40 years old. If you have the right mindset, you have the ability to change the trajectory of your life, but you got to put in the work. I'm going to be the first to admit it was not easy in the beginning. When I first started getting contracts, especially transitioning into the commercial cleaning aspect, I didn't have enough to quit my day job. And so I would work during the day and I would go clean these places at night, sometimes take about a 2-hour nap in between. And that's how it started. That's how it went for a while. I wasn't a pleasant person during that time, but eventually I got another contract and I had enough to hire somebody to take a little bit of load off of me, and I just kept building from there.
How do you go about growing your business? Like, what routes do you take to get more businesses under your belt? Like, do you have a pitch you give to them, or do you just go
So
in?
in the beginning, and the disinfectant fogging thing, it just kind of sold itself once, word got out about what I was doing. First of all, I was the only one doing it around here. So really cleaned up on that end of the market, and other businesses would hear about me. Now, when that kind of faded away and I transitioned into commercial cleaning, how that started was one of the very first fogging contracts I had was with the Seymour Bank. Kirk Penner's the president of Seymour Bank. He called me to his house one day and asked if I could disinfect and fog his guest house. And so I did. And after that, I talked to him and his wife. I found out who he was and stuff. And I kind of pitched my shot to fog his businesses. And he had unfortunately just signed with another company. But he called me the next day and said he changed his mind and he was going to take me on. And I always credit Kirk Penner and the Seymour Banks kind of paving the way for me. He really believed in me, and being able to get a contract like that under your belt enables you to get other contracts. When you say that one of your contracts is the Seymour Banks, that's a well-known business, and so that helps. In the beginning, when I transitioned into commercial cleaning, it was because he called me and said that his commercial cleaner of 15 years was retiring or moving on to something else. Would I like to take that on? And 100% I was down for it. And that's kind of where it started. But I had to do a lot of advertising, a lot of getting word out, posting on my Facebook, posting on my business page. I sent flyers out in the beginning. I went to different businesses, just made sure everybody heard about me and what I was doing. As I started to pick up more businesses, that definitely helped. This sounds, I'm not trying to brag now, but this is how it's a perfect example how a business grows. Don't search for business anymore. Have my name out there enough and I service enough, businesses, or my company does, that people come to me, which is a blessing. I stay very humble about it, but it's all, along the road of how to grow the business. And at the same time, you have to put standards out there that beat everybody else's. And that's what we go on.
That's honestly amazing how you have honestly just built it for yourself, like, and having other people's be like so dedicated to you and your work that they want to cause another contract with you from your fogging business.
Right.
So, so your business, so like how did you have to get any certification or anything involving that, or was it all just putting your name out there?
When I started the business, you have to start an LLC. You have to go through all those avenues, getting a business license stuff. Nobody's going to let you into their banks, doctor's offices, law offices without the proper insurance. So you have to get all, that going, business insurance and stuff. Um, about a year ago, I obtained one of the biggest contracts that I have, and that was with DFA. That literally changed the trajectory of my business. I'll tell a quick little story. I had several contracts already, and then one day DFA calls me, and I had done walkthroughs. So when a company calls you, you go do a walkthrough, you kind of take some notes, you go home, you compute all that stuff, and that's how you come up with a bid. You send the bid back to them. So DFA calls me, and I scheduled a meeting with them to go in, do a walkthrough. And the lady I'd been talking to, she meets me at the door, and she takes me into this conference room where I meet the head guy of the place. And we talk for a minute, and then next thing I know, there's somebody else from DFA walking in with a laptop, typing on it, hands me a business card, sits down. A couple minutes later, somebody else walks in, typing on a laptop, hands me a business card, sits down. A couple minutes later, somebody else walks in, hands me a business card, sits down. And I'm like, oh, where am I? What is happening right now? This is way over my head. Normally people just send me through the building and say, okay, let us know. Um, I was scared to death. So they throw all this information at me, and then they take me on a walk through the building, and that place is gigantic. So when I left there, I got in my car and I said, I think this was like a Wednesday. I told him I would have the bid to him by Friday, by like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, something of the sort. When I got in my car, I said, yeah, I'm not doing it. This is way over my head. I'm not ready for something like this. I'm just going to toss this one aside. And so that's what I did. I went home and I just said, well, it would be nice to have something like that, but it's not for me yet. So Friday came about an hour before the bid was due, and the office manager called me and she said, hey, you're still going to get that bid to us today. And I said, what do I say now? And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I hurried up, went to my office, and I sat down and I did my best to compute what a bid should be on this magnitude. But anyways, I did the best I could, and I sent it back to them. And I don't know, I think it was like 7 minutes later, it was exactly 7 minutes later. I act like I don't know, but it was. And they came back and said, okay, we accept it. I was like, oh no. Um, But, this is a good example of at that very moment, I reached out to some other local business owners and I said, I need some help, even if it's just some words of encouragement or some actual questions on what do I do now. And I learned that along the way from the moment I started is you find people in your community that are doing what you want to do. And those are the people you surround yourself with. So whether they liked it or not, I made other business owners my friends. No, I can credit several business owners that were very helpful and actually truly enjoyed seeing me succeed. So that was a big process in my starting a business is reaching out to others. But yeah, so that's a little story behind DFA that, there was times where I thought maybe I was way in over my head, but you just keep pushing forward. But so as of now, that's kind of where we're at is I think I have 16 contracts. We're in 6 different counties and I think I have 13 people on payroll. So, once you've got to that level, more and more businesses hear about you and then they call you up, and that's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling.
I agree. That was a great example of how you example for yourself and how you even push yourself to do things that are out of your comfort zone and you think you aren't ready for. So that's a great example in a business owner. And on the track of cleaning, a lot of people don't know what you have to do to make a business clean in your contracts and how you go about training people to clean your businesses. So can you give us an idea on what you specifically have to do for an example of one of your contracts?
So I make it very known from the beginning when I hire somebody that my standards are a lot higher than what most standards are. Um, I'll tell you, a lot of the contracts I have obtained is because the company wasn't satisfied with their current, um, cleaning business that they had. So recently I started doing something called a working interview. And so I'll find a way to put that person to work for like a temporary period. Maybe we have a new contract starting where we have to go in and do like an initial clean or something. And I have to put a crew together for that. So then I could kind of see what their abilities are, how they perceive what I'm teaching them, and then we just go from there. But yeah, it's some people think cleaning, there's nothing to it. It's a it's a learning process. You have to be willing to put in the work. I don't like jobs halfway done. I definitely don't like to get emails or phone calls from my contract saying something wasn't done properly. You know, at the same time, I give my employees a lot of flexibility. One of the humbling aspects of doing this and owning this company now is I get to be the person that gives the single mom extra hours, or some extra work. I will say a lot of my employees, this is their second job just because we work mostly in the evenings and on the weekends after the businesses have closed. So, you know, I just have people come to me and say, I need to make extra money. And I was that person. I was that person that couldn't make ends meet with one job, sometimes even two jobs. So it's very humbling that I get to be that person now. And I will say I have a knack for like weeding out the people that come to me. I think I do a good job at filtering and picking good people from the beginning. I've been bamboozled a few times. That's a tough hit to take. I always say I can't expect the average person to love my company as much as I love it, but I can't expect them to respect how much I love my company and what it's taken me to get here. So as long as they have that respect in mind, and carry that with them when they're doing the job, that's all I ask for. But back to the humbling aspect, I love being able to give people, you know, that extra work to make some extra money, to make ends meet, to pay for Christmas, to take their, kids on a trip, just different stuff here and there. That's a good feeling. That's a really good feeling. So a lot of times the employees that come to me are in that kind of boat. And so that's a good thing because I know that they need this just as much as I need them. So they do a good job at putting out the best effort they can. And so, like I said, there's been a few times I've been bamboozled. It's not a good feeling, but for the most part, I've dealt with some great people. I have some good employees, and I respect them. They respect me. Listen, there's a lot of flexibility in this job. Sometimes you have from the time the business closes at 5 p.m. till the time they open at 9 a.m. the next morning to get the job done. So if you want to go at 2 a.m., go at 2 a.m., you know? So this opens up a lot of flexibility for parents and stuff that I'm not going to tell you you can't go to your kid's basketball game. So go watch your kid play basketball and then go get the job done afterwards. And they're like, seriously? And I'm like, absolutely. Because I was the mom that relied on this community to take pictures at basketball
Mhm.
games, keep me updated while I was out vacuuming floors and scrubbing toilets of what points my kids scored and stuff. So yeah, it's a good feeling. It's a
That's
real good
great.
feeling.
That's great. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you set that example for yourself and your community. Like that's good that you were the person that you needed back when before this business started, and you're the person that your community needs for your company. Do you have any
And I'll
advice?
uh, go back real quick one more time. This community is amazing. I remember moving here at age 21 and seeing how small this town was. And I thought, absolutely not. I'm not staying here. I'm not doing it. And then I lived a pretty rough road for a little bit. I just had a rough time. And one day I said, I'm going to get myself out of this. And I went through a divorce and I went through a hard custody battle. And if people in this community that I didn't even hardly know sometimes, and people I knew didn't pick me up time after time again and brush me off and give me the encouragement to do what I needed to do, I I would not be here right now without people in this community. Absolutely not. So I don't ever want to miss a moment to not credit my community being behind me. Sorry, I had to veer off for a minute. What was your last question?
No, you're good. I was just gonna ask if you had any advice for someone who was living like how you used to and how they can start to business or get a job like you did?
Listen, 100%. If I can do it, anybody can do it, but it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, um, but a lot of just mindset. I think the first thing you have to do when you want to do something different in life or you want to change the path you're on, you want to make something better, is it starts up here first. Change your mindset. Wake up every day, look in the mirror and say, you can do this. Give yourself a pep talk. There's going to be things along the way that knock you down. I still come across, obstacles every day. There's, something different. There's a different battle to be won. But when you change the way your mind operates, everything else kind of falls into place. So my first bit of advice would set the correct mindset. My second set of advice would be everybody's heard the old saying, birds of a feather flock together. Surround yourself with people that share the same goals, the same dreams, the same outlook on life. You can't surround yourself with negativity and people that are going nowhere or just whatever and expect to do great things. Find people that are doing things, that are making things happen, that are positive, that put good things out there, and surround yourself with those type of people. And those people will carry you. And then one day you'll be the person that's carrying other people down that path.
That's great life advice. Do you have any, like, how do you keep that advice in your life and keep the standards for other people that may try to shut you and your ideas down?
You know, I've said this before. Sometimes when you change the path of your life and you start to do good things and you better yourself, you lose people. And that's sometimes hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. It makes you wonder why they were around before and they're not around now. But you can't get caught up in all that. There's people that will prove themselves to you to be, you know, an aspect in your life that you need there that are in your corner. Those are the people you keep in your corner. And then you got to be your own biggest fan. And sometimes that may come off crazy to other people, but if you're not going to be your own biggest fan, who else is? And sometimes that's what it takes. And that energy rubs off on people. And then you realize you have other people that are your fan that are supporting you, that want to see you do good. And that circle, that professional circle, uh, gets bigger and you just keep climbing that ladder. But at the very beginning of it all, you honestly have to be your own biggest fan. You have to cheer yourself on every day. You have to root for yourself and you have to believe in yourself.
That's absolutely great advice that I agree with. And do you have any additional comments you'd like anyone to know about you or your company that you'd like anyone to know?
No, I think we've covered it all. Like I said before, I appreciate, all those businesses that have believed in my company and the community behind me, um, that has believed in my company, my employees that have showed up for me time and time again and done a fantastic job. I wouldn't be here without all those key things falling into place. But I do want to end with a little bit of a side note, and I want to say congratulations to you because I have watched you grow into this fantastic human being and take these magnificent trips for your uh, competitions and stuff. And I've watched you since you were just a wee little girl, and you are just a fantastic young lady and a human. And I've worked with you also, and you're a hard worker, and I am just so very proud of you.
Thank
And
you,
to be sitting
Amanda.
here doing this interview with you is just a fantastic moment in my life.
Well,
So
thank you, Amanda. You're
you're
amazing
very
to work
welcome.
for.
Thank you.
But
Although you quit. I'm just kidding.
blame my mom, not me.
We'll give her all the blame.
On behalf of the community and Panther Productions, thank you for your time and telling us your advice and giving us like your life advice and how you benefit this community. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Zoe.